Namaskar and welcome to this exciting new show on Sattology, debunking mythology. You have seen so many of our guests speaking about different topics, about dharma, about the dating, about the Sanskrit language, and also we are bringing Vedic mathematics series also on the show. In this show, I have a very special guest from UK, and she has found her love for Ram, Bhagavan Ram, and many Europeans and Americans call it Rama. But it's the same thing. As long as you mean the same person with a bow and arrow, I don't find any difference over there. So in Sanskrit, we call it Ram, Bhagavan Ram. And they call it Rama, but it's definitely not Ram. Okay, it's a different meaning altogether. So without delay, I would like to welcome you and introduce you to Miss Antonia Filmer, and she's joining us from UK. Namaskar and welcome.
Namaskar. I'm so happy to be here. It's so nice to meet you at last.
So MD Nalapat spoke so highly of you every time I speak to him, and he told me a couple of times to invite you, and finally it happened. Finally, so for viewers, she has strong faith in Rama and Vedic culture. She has been teaching and inspiring others. She also comments very pro-India topics on the Twitter handle if you want to follow her. And also she has done a lot of writing and research on specific topics related to Dharma. And so first I would like to ask her, Antonia, can you please explain about yourself a little bit, introduce yourself to this audience?
Well, I've got a very mixed background, and I was a fashion journalist, and then I was a director of a design company for 14 years. And during that time, or during all my life, I have traveled to India. So I've been to India, I don't know how many times, probably about 35 times. And to begin with, I was very adventurous and I went all over the place on my own, discovering things. And recently, I have been mostly to Kerala and I've been to Ayodhya twice. Obviously, I had to go to Lucknow on the way. But every time I go, I learn more things, and that just makes me want to learn even more things. And everything you learn is of benefit to you. So I would encourage everybody to visit India and just their own thing. Much more when you're there. Will I talk a little bit about Hinduism a little bit and about Rama?
Yes, please, go ahead.
Well, for me, Hinduism is both a faith and a philosophy. It's a recipe for life if you choose it. And you have to choose it because although there are so many freedoms, there are certain disciplines. And we as humans, we can choose how to behave, as opposed to animals who just are instinctive. We can choose how we want to be in the world. And what I've learnt is that life and the world are best understood by history, experience, and metaphor. And all this can be found in the Ramayana and I think the Upanishads. You've got your whole history in the Ramayana, and that is just so important that everybody read that and have their own take on it. We all know that Rama is the incarnation of Vishnu, and in Rama there are all Vishnu's qualities of preserving tradition, culture, heritage, and of course humanity. Vishnu's powers of preservation are obvious in Rama's emotional values. Rama showed and demonstrated all the qualities of being a son, being a husband, being a father, being a king. You know, he showed how to be all those things. So to me, it's no coincidence that Rama has popular appeal today when the world is in such crisis, such division. You know, there's antipathy, anger, violence. Everybody's mental health is all over the place. Their physical health is terrible because of COVID. And there's just so many possibilities for conflict. And Rama epitomizes love, compassion, empathy. He shows us how to be humble, how to respect our family and those to whom we have an obligation. For him, it was his subjects, but for all of us, we have different people that we have an obligation to. I think he believed in equality and egalitarian rights, strong moral and ethical standards. When his father and his brother tried to make him have the throne back, he refused, and Bharata said, "Oh, you can lock me up and then you can have the throne." And he said, "No, I don't want to do that. It's not mine to have at the moment, you know." And he turned down the offer from his brother that the stepmother had wrangled the throne for him. So that's a very honourable thing to have done. She had schemed to take it away. And all that to me shows that he had very early democratic values, you know. So this was maybe the beginnings of democracy in India. He was probably problem-centered rather than self-centered. I think he was someone who had achieved and fulfilled his potential, his dharma, his conscience. So it's no surprise that as a perfect mortal, he's very accessible to us. We want to have some of these qualities that he showed us that are available to us. We all want to be the best we can be, but Rama was really a self-realized person. He was able to perceive reality and tolerate uncertainty and to look at life objectively. He accepted others for what they were. You know, Hanuman, Jambavan, he was creative in thought and actions, concerned about the welfare of humanity without bias. And all the forest dwelling experience in Antara show that he had a deep appreciation of the natural world and basic life experience. You know, there was no complaint. You know, they went to all those rivers and the forests, and he appreciated all that time. I read a wonderful book by a psychiatrist and literary scholar called Ian McGilchrist called The Divided Brain. And he has a theory that his hypothesis is that the brain is divided into the left hemisphere and the right hemisphere. And the left hemisphere absorbs detail, data, statistics, or the purely mechanical side of physics and science. And it focuses on categorization, systems, and predictability. And the right side of the brain is all about the intangibles, humor, music, beauty, the flow of time, expression, language, nuance, judgment, values, all those things. And to have a proper understanding of the world, it requires both hemispheres to work together and share their findings. And that's done through a bit of the brain called the corpus callosum, where the right side gives context to the left side. And without those sides operating harmoniously together, you don't get anywhere. You get in a muddle. And what Mr. McGilchrist theorizes is that the Western world is at risk of being dominated by the left side, and that we are enthralled to the left hemisphere, which has exaggerated itself and eclipsed the right side. Now, my little hypothesis is that this doesn't happen in Hinduism or Buddhism. So I think the two sides, this is just my theory, is the two sides of the brain are much more in harmony. And I can see that in Rama. And a long time ago, I wanted to make a little documentary about Rama's journey. In 2013, I started researching what had happened between Ayodhya and Sri Lanka and where all the locations were. And there was so little information. And nowadays, you can go online and wonderfully, there is a whole universe of information, which it's just such a wonderful thing to know that that's there nowadays. It's just appeared in the last 7 years. And so anybody who wants to research their history, there's just so much to see and so much to learn.
So very well put. And I think I got the title of this discussion, Lord Rama's Message to the World through Antonia Filmer. That's a great title for this video. And viewers, I think most of you and many of you are not connected to Hinduism or Sanatan Dharma at all, and I respect that. And the idea is that the message of Lord Ram is more important than the chronology of the events, because these stories and these histories are so old that the modern chronological evidences won't even match up because they're so old histories. But the message that comes out when you read Ramayan is phenomenal. I mean, that's what is needed in the society today more than ever before. So coming back to you, Antonia, what do you feel is the essential message today of Bhagavan Ram to Americans as well as Europeans?
Essential message. Well, I think it's about humanity. I think you have to look at everything from everybody's point of view, and then have what the right thing to do is. I mean, we know that he wasn't against self-defense. We know that he wanted to protect his family, his kingdom, but he did it having looked at the reasons. I think his message is to think about humanity and to think about the future, really. I think that we can't just take everything as today. I think he was thinking about the future all the time. And I think that that's what we should think about, the future, but not just the future in 1 year, the future in 100 years, I don't know, 500 years. It's really important. I mean, the feeling that everybody has for Ram has lasted so long. So it's really important that that feeling lasts all that time again, and to keep those feelings alive through finding out more and behaving in a I don't know what the right word is, um, commensurate way, that a complementary way to believing in Rama.
Now, you're so right. When you read Ramayan, especially Valmiki Ramayan, you find out that he was a fast decision maker. He was a righteous king. He was very loyal to his husband, his father. He was very loyal to his wife, and also he was like an ideal personality, a person, a king with a deep heart for his people, and like his focus was on the last man on the street, and he would personally roam on the streets of Ayodhya to make sure that no one is sick or unhappy in any possible way. And another aspect of Bhagavan Ram is that he was a warrior, so he would always wear gloves. And many of us don't like the crows, but crow was his companion, and he was a expert arranger of armies. Now many of these histories, I would call them histories, Sattology, are written in Valmiki Ramayana so vividly that they cannot be fake. And not only that, Valmiki, his own sons, repeated Ramayana first time in front of him after Valmiki wrote it, and he approved of it and asked his own sons, "Where did you get all this information from?" And then later on we find out that Valmiki had divine vision from Brahma, and that's how he was able to vividly describe these stories and the histories in his Ramayana, Valmiki Ramayana. So Lord Ram's message is not just in social engineering or social management, but his messages are for also for those dynamic people who want to protect dharma in the society. Dharma is equal for all, whether even animals have rights, humans have rights, trees have rights, and the earth also has rights. We cannot over exploit anything or anyone. So with that in mind, the Lord Ram's message is very universal. I can go on and on speaking about Ram, and that's what I love that you chose about Ram. Can you tell us more about Ram, which really affects you or helps you, and which you would like to tell to the audience more?
Well, I think one of the things that I learnt, and I learnt it when I was traveling, was when I traveled on my own, because when you're traveling on your own, people are much more willing to receive you. If you're traveling with somebody else, they think, oh, there's two of them, they'll be fine. But if you're traveling on your own, they say, come with me, or, do this with me, which is lovely. Um, and so when I came back to England, I noticed that actually we're not very reciprocal in that same way, because I can never um, pay back all the people who were so hospitable and kind and sharing with me. So now, if I see a traveler, which if I find out about a young person or anybody traveling, I want to say, come to me. I'm not paying back the people that were kind to me, but I'm just doing what somebody did to me. I'm just inviting them into my life, because that's what somebody did to me. So I'm passing on that wonderful favor that I was given, but I'm passing it on to random people who hopefully will then pass it on. You like Rama going on the streets of Ayodhya looking for somebody. He was very creative in his thought and in his actions, and we have to be the same. We have to find ways where we can fulfill our potential, um, in whatever way is our creative thought makes available to us.
So you are true. Throughout the world, and I've seen so many people talking about they want Ram Rajya. Ram Rajya means kingdom of Ram. And there is a very famous philosopher, Prabhupada commented, everybody wants Ram Rajya, but nobody wants Ram. Why? And the answer to that hypothetical question is that we have to see the Lord Ram's legacy, or we have to live the Lord Ram's legacy by doing what he said, or and by following an example by what he did. And
You
that's
can't have
how
the
you
Raja without him. You can't have the Ram Raja without him.
exactly. Without Ram, there can be no Ram
It would
Raja.
be meaningless.
Yes,
Well, it would be meaningless. It would be empty.
absolutely. Without Ram, there is no Ram Rajya. So we have to first bring
Of
Ram
course
into
not.
our hearts and our lives, and then automatically everything is going to transform. And such a,
Yes,
yeah,
that's the perfect thing. Bring him into your heart and your life. But it doesn't have to be aggressive. You don't have to show it all the time. You just have to have him there for your own comfort and security.
actually, when you if you look at Lord Ram's personality, he was a very quiet person in Ramayana, very silent, and he always respected his elders. And there is a particular incident when Parshuram comes to challenge Dashrath, his own father, and Ram listens to him and stays quiet because he wants Dashrath to speak. Now, my question to you, one thing is, one regarding one aspect is, so when Ravan kidnapped Lord Ram's wife, he was punished very severely, and that's what Ram is very famous for. That when you attack, then you have to defend. So, what do you have to say in that regard to all the audience today about Lord Ram's personality?
About him
Defending his,
killing Ravana.
yes,
Well, I think if he hadn't killed Ravana would have pursued him. So, I mean, in the end, you have to put an end to your enemy. And he recognized the weak spot and dealt with it. I mean, there was another instance where who was it? Was it Vali? Did he try to kill Vali?
yes,
He did. He did kill Vali, but then he offered to bring Vali back to life, didn't he?
yes,
Is that right?
yes.
He didn't offer that to Ravana.
No, not to Ravana.
Exactly. So I think from that perspective, Ravana calculated in a very scheming, horrible way to hurt Rama. And in hurting Rama, he was hurting the whole future of the Ram Rajya. So obviously, Rama took a decision and he didn't regret it. I think that's fine.
Yeah. So one of the thing is, after he defeated Ravan, he actually put his brother in charge of the kingdom. So he did not fight for the kingdom; he was fighting for the principles. That
Yes,
that's a great example also for the world to follow. That we don't have to fight against individuals, but we have to fight against adharma. That is more important.
yes. That's what when I said that you can choose how to behave. You know I didn't say it, but I did mean you have to fight for your principles.
Exactly.
You have to know what your principles are in the first place. So that requires some thought. What are your principles? You know, you can't just be dashing around fighting without knowing, you know, what your values are.
Absolutely. I think before you take any step, you need to know what is dharma, What is a dharma? Dharma means principles, and adharma means which are not socially acceptable principles. So before you can do that, that's a great point, and really thank you for that. Now, my last question in this series, in this talk is, how do you uh, how do you tell the Americans who have never understood Rama, or many of them maybe first time listening to us right now, about Rama? How can you tell them that this was an historical personality and how they can get inspired?
Um, well, I don't know how anybody can doubt it. I don't know how anybody can doubt it when I don't know how many millions of people believe it, but you only have to read a little bit to know that. I mean, people don't doubt that, you know, Jesus existed. They don't doubt that, I don't know, Muhammad existed. They don't doubt. Why do we have to doubt about Rama? I don't understand people who doubt. You don't have to if it doesn't suit you, if his philosophy doesn't suit you, then you don't have to take it. But I don't understand why people would doubt that it was that that he was there. How did all this get written about if it didn't happen? It is documented the in I think that he is in the Puranas, he's in the Ramayana, he's in the Upanishads. Where did all that come from if it wasn't there? If there's all sorts of English translations and wonderful books. I did one other chat, and since then, very kind people have sent me so much to read. I can't read it all. I haven't read it all because I just haven't had time, but I will in my life read it. And it's just, I think they should go to a mandir, or they should read some poetry or speak to. The best thing to do is to speak to a rishi or a guru and try and understand a little bit about it.
There has been a lot of so much propaganda against honest, sincere gurus in the world today. The kind of names being used for them, like self-styled godman, and lot of pejorative words have been used against the gurus. And I'm talking about the honest gurus and honest saints, that people have lost a lot of faith in them. There is a whole Bollywood propaganda against them, and these are some of the leftist Indians who are also doing it in a big way. So what do you have to say to them? Because they are the ones who create doubts in the first place.
Well, are you saying that some of them are charlatans?
Exactly. That's right.
Well, people have to use their judgment. I mean, we were given judgment, and people have to use their judgment. If you can't tell somebody with integrity, do these guys arrive in a private plane? Whose is the private plane? Are they humble people? Has it gone to their head that they are so-called God men? I don't know. I would judge. I would use my judgment whether somebody had integrity or not. But that's what we were given judgment for, to recognize somebody who's a fake.
No, actually, there are a lot of sincere people also, but the media,
Yes, of course there are a
there,
lot of sincere people.
there are
I
more.
would imagine the sincere people are more numerous than the insincere people, but they don't have such a public profile.
Correct.
You have to search out the sincere people. The insincere people are in your face, and the sincere people are, sitting, being worshipful in a quiet corner somewhere.
Somewhere. And the media, especially the mainstream media, actually doesn't show these sincere people, and the media usually talks about all the charlatans who are not, I'm saying not all of them, there are a lot of genuine people also media proposes, but generally the people, the Bollywood media creates doubts in the minds of millions of people of who would rather follow Ram, and they produce a doubt in their minds so that they do not develop that kind of faith in the teachings of Ramayana.
Well, I think for the media are always under pressure to look for a story, you know, and if a story is in front of them, it's much easier than to go and find the real story. It depends how much pressure they're under. It's also much easier to write about something sensational than something good. And I think I'm sad that the wrong people get the exposure, but I am sure that, you know, that there must be a Hindu temple accessible to most people in America. They could just go there. I'm sure the priests would be very happy to talk to them and share their stories, and why they believe. When I went to my local Hindu temple, and I'd never been there before. They were very welcoming. They didn't ask me any questions. I did all the rituals, and I'm sure that they would have had a lovely conversation with me if I'd wanted one. And I'm sure that's true everywhere.
I'm sure, and I think our time is coming to up right now, and thank you so much, Antonia Filmer, and audience. You can follow her on Twitter. She's very famous. You can follow her. I'm going to put her Twitter tagline so you can follow her also. And uh, if you have any questions, you can always reach out to me. I have I've asked all the questions that you sent me so far, and I have summarized them and asked her, and we'll bring her back. All of you like the way she spoke, so we'll bring her back. We'll invite her back again sometime, some other time. And till that time, all of you enjoy and go to Google or Amazon and search for Valmiki, Valmiki, and Ramayan, Ramayan on Amazon. There'll be
And
many
you can,
authors
you
there.
can I just say, there's a wonderful translation of Valmiki's Ramayan. I'm just going to tell you who it's by. It's by Ralph T.H. Griffith, and it was written in 1870 and published in Benares. And it's called the Ramayan of Valmiki, translated into English verse by Ralph Griffith. And it's very worth reading. It's beautifully done.
So please read that Ralph Griffith, Valmiki Ramayan. And also, if you can read Sanskrit and Hindi, you can buy from Gita Press, because Gita Press stores the original Ramayan. So you get the whole Sanskrit and Hindi or other English. Also, there is an English translation also. So both of these options are available to you. So read them. And I think I'll tell you one thing: page by page, be a sage. So it's you can learn spirituality through the pages and of these wonderful histories. So, and before I end the session, without Lord Ram cannot be any Ram Rajya. So just forget about it. So we got to bring some Ram there within our hearts, and then we can get the Ram Rajya. Thank you all so much, and see you in the next show. Namaskar.